Hello and welcome to Cinematic Shenanigans, where today we are celebrating Friday the 13th in the only appropriate way, by watching Friday the 13th. Now, with the first Friday the 13th of the year falling upon us, I took it upon myself to pop in my copy of the original Friday the 13th DVD that I normally keep stashed away neatly in the Library of Cinema. And while I do intend to continue this new tradition of watching a Friday the 13th movie every Friday the 13th, I'm going to be honest. Of the great horror movie franchises of the 80s, this is the weakest. Now, that's not to say that this is a bad movie. Put down your machetes. I still remember how most of y'all came after my throat when I had the audacity to not like the ever-boring Part 2. What I am saying is that this movie does not properly compare to its other brethren in the horror franchise opening movies. It falls into the shadow of Halloween. It gets outdone by Nightmare on Elm Street. It's not near as horny as Hellraiser. All those classic movies are unique and help redefine the horror genre. Friday the 13th doesn't really do that. At first glance, it doesn't offer up the same classic uniqueness, nerve, and talent that the other great horror franchises do. It's very much a standard by-the-book slasher about a group of isolated teenagers being picked off one by one by an unseen killer as punishment for being horny. The performances are poor. The script is weak. The pacing is slow. In a movie that is 90 minutes long, there should not be this much dead air where nothing is happening. And yes, I still love In a Violent Nature that does exactly this. All that to say, for a franchise that gave birth to one of the greatest horror icons, it starts off on a sloppy foot. Or at least that's how I felt when I watched this movie for the first annual Spooknanigans back in 2023. Which was also the first time I watched this movie in well over a decade. This was right when I was starting out doing cinematic shenanigans, although not to this level yet. All I could see were the flaws. All I could see were the cliches and the stereotypes. But with this viewing, I had a greater appreciation for some of the finer production details that, for me, help differentiate this movie from its colleagues. Now, a lot of my criticisms still stand. The performances are poor, the script is weak, there's too much wasted time. But beyond that, I appreciate the hell out of the production design in this movie. Specifically, makeup, prosthetics, and soundtrack. The practical effects and makeup used for the kills in this movie are still impressive even by 2026 standards, let alone 1980. It's not really surprising that audiences at the time were disgusted by this movie upon its initial release. But a new thought struck me during this viewing. Was part of the reason why this movie was made was so that the special effects and makeup could be shown off. Was this an audition reel for the legendary effects master Tom Savini? If it was, then this movie is very similar to Terrifier, though that movie is much more brutal and much lighter on story, and Friday the 13th is already fairly light on story. The more I think on it, this original Friday the 13th became a classic, not because it broke the mold or redefined the genre, but because it was creative. Even beyond the practical effects, I found myself really enjoying the musical score for this movie. And I don't mean just the very classic that's fine, that's iconic, but there's more. Whenever one of the counselors is out in the woods being observed by some unseen force, the movie uses the natural sounds of the woods to create a sense of isolationship, mixed in with a beautiful use of strings whenever the killer is on the prowl, and I find myself on the edge of my seat for a movie that I've seen several times since high school. This movie may be mediocre. This movie may be the weakest of the great horror franchises, but there's still a reason why it is considered a camp classic.